Okay, we are going to go ahead and begin our regularly scheduled city council meeting for this evening. So I'd like to welcome you all out tonight. So it is Monday, January 6th, 2025, and it is 6 o'clock p.m. So our first city council meeting of the year. So we're glad for all of you to be here with us this evening. So we will begin our meeting, as always, with an invocation offered by, I apologize, I should have looked at this and got this name. Do you mind coming forward, and so I don't butcher it, we'll just let you tell us your name, of the Boone Memorial Presbyterian Church?
Yes, I'm part of the leadership group.
Well, and what was that?
My name is Ladine Korhonen.
Excellent, thank you so much for being
All
here. And
right.
if everyone would please stand for the prayer and then remain standing.
Do I face you guys or face those guys?
What's that?
Do I face you?
You can face us,
All
yes.
right. Holy and loving Creator God, we give you thanks for our community and its leaders. We recognize the gift that it is to live together, to offer our many and varied skills and talents in service to the greater good. And we humbly pray that we might be instruments of your peace here in Caldwell and beyond. Grant those gathered here today open ears to hear the voices of the community with compassion. Grant them open eyes to see the needs around them with clarity. And grant them open minds to serve the people with love. All this we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, Ladine, for being here and beginning our meeting with that. And also, love the Boone Memorial Presbyterian Church. I remember attending there with a friend of mine when I was in high school one time, and it's a beautiful building. So that's excellent. Thank you so much. You have a great evening. Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Councillor Doty?
Here.
Councillor Static?
Here.
Councillor Register?
Here.
Councillor Williams?
Here.
Councillor Allgood?
Here.
Councillor Dittenberg?
Here.
Thank you so much. So all council members are present and accounted for. We appreciate Councilor Register joining us via Zoom this evening, and also appreciate Angie filling in our clerk duties this evening. Are there any conflict of interest declarations from any members of the council regarding any items on the agenda? Okay. We do not have any special presentations tonight. So do we have the audience participation sheet by chance? So nobody's signed up on that. Very good. So that'll move us then into our consent calendar. So I know we do have a few amendments to that. So I don't know if we have a motion for those.
I'll make the motion.
Yes, Councilor Dittenberg.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we amend the consent calendar to remove items number 24, 26, and 27 and add them under new business.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's a motion from Councilor Dittenberg and a second from Councilor Doty for amendment to the consent calendar as noted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion passes. So with that, we now have the amended consent calendar before council for your decision, for your motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Doty.
I make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as amended.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
That's a motion from Councilor Doty and a second from Councilor Stoddart for approval of the consent calendar as amended. With that, the voting is before you at this time and is open. And all votes are cast, the voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. And that moves us into new business, as there is no old business before the council this evening. So new business, our first action item is a public hearing, quasi-judicial. This is for an annexation, comprehensive plan map, and subdivision request on behalf of Altitude Development. Again, this is for approximately 3.1 acres of an annexation and 9.9 acres for personal zoning of C3 service commercial. Katie, will you be doing the presentation? We'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Katie Wright, Associate Planner, 205 South 6th Avenue. Before you tonight is Mason Creek Commons, ANN 2407, CPM 2402, SUB 2434. It went before the P&Z Commission on November 13th, and it was recommended for approval. It is now. The project location is 13.08 acre parcel located on the northwest corner of Middleton Road and Highway 2026. The site frontage is along Highway 2026 and Middleton Road. The project site is currently surrounded by single-family residential to the north, south, and west, commercial to the east and south, and undeveloped land to the east. There are 5 developments within a 1-mile radius of the subject site that are either actively under construction or have been improved for entitlements. The applications before you tonight are for all the parcel outlined in red, an annexation of 13.08 acres of land into the Caldwell city limits with the initial zoning of C3, an amendment to the city's comprehensive plan future land use map with from highway corridor to commercial service, and a preliminary plat for commercial subdivision. A special use permit was approved by P&Z Commission on November 13th to allow for traditional mini storage in the C3 zone. Tonight's request consists of the applicant's proposal for annexation with a service commercial zoning designation. The purpose of the C3 zone is to provide areas by zoning procedures in accordance with the comprehensive plan that provides suitable areas where activities of a service nature, which are more intensive in character than other commercial zones, and which may be semi-industrial in character, may be carried out in conjunction with the policies of the comprehensive plan. The proposed development is surrounded by highway corridor to the east and south, low-density residential to the north, west, and south, service commercial to the south and west, and county zoning to the east. Staff finds the service commercial is compatible zoning district along Highway 2026. Highway corridor and C2 are already along the north and south of highway corridor and surrounding areas, making C3 compatible. The proposed comp plan designation and development as commercial service is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan. The proposed land uses are permitted within the zoning district. Again, a special use permit was approved by the P&Z Commission to allow for the traditional mini storage within the C3 zone. The applicant is proposing a development consisting of 13.08 acres of commercial, approving or approximately 3.7 of that would be that storage that was approved. And then the remainder of the uses are proposed as car-oriented uses with drive-throughs such as convenient gas stations, drive-through restaurants, banks, etc. The proposed development project has been analyzed for compliance with city codes and policies, and staff finds that the proposed development is in compliance with all parking and landscaping requirements, all bulk standards for lot size, setbacks, frontage, and height of buildings, and the proposed development is in compliance with all zoning and subdivision ordinances. The specific land uses will be reviewed at time of building permit. This will also require proof of substantial parking. The proposed development will have adequate site access and all utilities are available or will be available as outlined in the engineering staff report. Public agencies were notified and asked to provide comments. The only agencies that made comments of note were Highway District Number 4 has comments to consider for improvements, and we received one public comment from Stacy Burns. This letter was in opposition of the development and states that the city should consider the damage done to Mason Creek embankment prior to the approval of annexation. The commission, again on November 13th, recommended approval for the annexation comprehensive plan, map amendment, and the preliminary plat, and approved the special use permit. Staff recommends the following site-specific conditions for this application. The commercial uses shall adhere to the land use schedule at the time of development. At time of first building permit, if ITD fails to install street lights and sidewalks as part of their improvements along Highway 2026, the applicant will be responsible for providing them. At the time of business permit, parking will be verified per use. At time of building permits, the storage unit colors and materials, minimum of 2, shall be approved by staff. Applicant shall provide a sidewalk or other pedestrian connection through the site between the storage use and other commercials in lieu of providing a pathway along the canal at the north edge of the property. If the property to the west develops in the future, they shall be allowed to connect a pedestrian pathway into the subject site pathway sidewalk system. And any building immediately adjacent to single-family home shall be no taller than 25 feet in height to the midpoint. Staff recommends that if council approves the request, that such request is subject to the conditions as specified in the findings of facts, conclusions of law, and order of decision. And I stand for any questions.
Perfect, thank you so much. Any questions at this time, Councilor Doty?
Thank you. Did you address or look at the concerns on Mason Creek and the concern there, and what's our stance on that? Thank you.
Yes, Mayor and Councilor, I did talk with the county, and they did have a code case open for it with their code compliance, and they did say that since then that has been closed, and it has met all of their requirements. The comment from, the public comment that we received did have some photos as in the packet about some of the plantings that may not be up to par or may have died since then, but the applicant would be able to talk about that a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions at this time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Williams, sorry, I didn't see that.
Thank you. Katie, I've noticed coming down 2026 through Sky Ranch, it looks like we've limited signage to monument signs coming through there. There's not a lot of the tall signs, and I don't know if that's by design, but I like it. Will that continue all the way to this point here? This is our corridor, our entryway. I like the look. Have we talked about that, and is that part of the sign zoning here?
Mayor and Councilor, at this point, we have not talked with them about any signage that they're proposing, but Robin may be able to touch on the monument sign a little bit that you might be referring to.
Thanks. Thank you, Katie. Mayor and Councilor Williams, currently it's been by design on a lot of those. We do have some requirements for if it's a subdivision that it has to be a monument sign. However, in our code amendments that we're working on right now, we are proposing to get rid of pole signs altogether and go with monument signs. Now, they could be taller monument signs, like 15 foot or something, but they would have to have a base like a monument sign and no longer allow pole signs.
Ms. Mayor?
Yes, follow up.
I would just like us to continue that, especially on this corridor, and so if this is approved, I would want that to be a condition of approval.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other, Councilor Allgood?
Katie, yeah, you and I just talked about this. I just want to get it on the record.
Yeah.
None of this zoning that we would do tonight, if approved, would allow for multifamily or any residential on this piece of property, correct?
Mayor and Councilor, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank
That's
you.
all for this, at this time. We have two individuals signed up in favor. Jeff Likes. So if you'll please come forward. Do you want to, Mr. Jones to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go right ahead. So Chad Jones, so if you could state your name and address, and you'll have up to 10 minutes for your
Absolutely.
presentation.
Northeast of storage, which would be, for the most part, obscured to the public, but meant to serve the surrounding communities. I don't know if I've got, it doesn't really matter. Retail business, anchor, monument signs, as we just spoke about before. Getting back to Mason Creek, we've been working pretty diligently and hard with the Highway District, working through plans, how to get that, in particular Mason Creek, to work for the public, pedestrian way, and how that's going to work. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Stacy, I don't think I did when we were speaking here earlier, is there will be some impacts, and there's going to be a little bit of work that's going to be done there, and those impacts will be remediated as part of upcoming projects. As far as the landscape that was disturbed, that will continue through. We have a fairly intensive landscape plan that's going to replant, revegetate, bring some of that habitat, as everyone has known it to be, back. And that's really been the entire intent, is to get pedestrian flow, traffic flow, proper right-in, right-outs, not only on Chinden, but also Middleton Road, as part of this project. As Katie had mentioned before, the zoning is appropriate for the uses that we are planning. Drive-ins, retail business type uses, potentially a gas station or a convenience store type function. Help bring some of those things into the community. I'm not sure what else to bring to you folks. I'll stand for question.
Perfect, thank you so much. Any questions? Okay, I don't see any, so very good, thank you so much. Jeff, if you could again just state your name and address for the record, and then we'll time you up for 3 minutes.
Yeah, Jeff Lags, 1119 East State Street with ALC Architecture. We'll just address, because I know Katie brought it up, and I know Stacy will stand up and talk about it. Along Mason Creek, and I know Councilman has brought it up. When the developer was there, they did take down some trees. Immediately it was called, they stopped. That has been addressed through the county as has been pointed out. And so that's been resolved and closed. Yes, there are some trees and plants that have died. They were put in there without a sprinkler system because that's not in yet. So they will be addressing that. On the landscape plan, you'll see a part that's been left out. That is the part they fixed. They're gonna go back and fix it when they redo all the other landscaping plan too. Just replace the trees that have died. So just wanna clarify that.
Perfect, thank you so
Thanks.
much. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much, appreciate it, Jeff. Okay, we do have one person signed up in neutral, Stacy. If you could state your name and address for the record, and is that correct, neutral and not in opposition?
It's always been kind of neutral and not opposed. My name's Stacy Behrens, 11081 Red Mountain Street, and I'm the person who sent the letter to the Planning and Zoning Committee. Mr. Jones has shared a bunch of the information recently since that last meeting about what are required to get through that case through the Idaho Water Resources Board. And so I'm much more aware of where they're at. When the last meeting happened, I sent a bunch of pictures in because everything that they planted in that time, everything died. And so the entire area just died off and there was nothing that was fixed. And that was my main concern, was that area gets fixed prior to all this and it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. But it sounds to me like you guys were all aware of the issues there, and I just didn't want to make sure that this didn't get lost in the shuffle and that Mason Creek is going to get all repaired satisfactorily and the landscaping will be up to par. So yeah, I guess that's my only real concern.
Very good, thank you so much. Any questions from council? Okay, thank you, we appreciate you
Thanks.
being here on that regards. And that's all that is signed up. Chad or Jeff, do you have any rebuttal on that, or good? Okay. So then with that, I would ask for a motion to close the public testimony portion of this hearing. So a motion from Councilor Stoddard and a second from Councilor Doty to close the public testimony portion of this hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And any opposed? That motion passes. So with that, it moves it into deliberation, discussion, motions from the council at this time. And also, if you have any questions for staff, they're all available as well. Councilor
Mr.
Doty?
Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I was just going to make a motion.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Allgood.
Based on findings of fact and conclusions of law, the mayor and city council hereby orders that case number ANN 24-07, also CPM 24-02, and SUB 24-34 for Mason Creek Commons is hereby approved to include the conditions of approval as outlined in the staff report.
And just to note, is there one of those conditions that Councilor Williams had
Yes,
discussed earlier?
I would include the condition as Councilor Williams mentioned earlier.
Okay, very good, thank you so much. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
So it's a motion from Councilor Allgood, second from Councilor Doty for approval of the request with the conditions as outlined in addition to the one additional condition from that Councilor Williams had discussed earlier. Any discussion on that motion? With that, voting is open at this time. All votes are cast, so voting is closed. and that passes unanimously. It's time for a motion to close this public hearing item. And a second? This is motion from Councilor Stoddard, a second from Councilor Doty. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. So congratulations, your item has been approved. Appreciate you being here. Stacy, thank you for coming as well to ensure that that got taken care of, the landscaping. That'll move us into action item number 2, which is basically a follow-up bill and ordinance, the annexation request for bill number 51 and ordinance number 3612. Do we have a sponsor of this bill and ordinance?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Doty.
move to approve the passage of bill number 51, ordinance number 3612 for case number ANN 24-07 with the request to move for its passage by title only and approve the summary for publication.
Do we have a second?
Second.
That's a motion from Councilor Doty with a second from Councilor Stoddard for passage of Bill 51, Ordinance 3612, by title only and approving the summary for publication. Any discussion on that motion? With that, voting is open at this time. And all votes are cast, so voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. And that'll move us into new business number 3. Consider resolution ratifying the request. And the next several of these will be very similar in that regard. So this is a request to use ARPA funding in the amount of $395,230 to purchase a Ford F-550 BME Type 6 Extreme Squad unit. So as we start to get into this, appreciate Chief Shute being here. This is, if you remember, there was some discussion at the last council meeting. There was a refund check, basically, that we got from, I believe it was ITD, in the amount of approximately $1.8 million, which is always nice to get one of those. So this was from an ARPA project that came in well under budget. Thus, ITD dispersed those money amounts back to the individual cities. We received, again, as I mentioned, $1.8 million. The only caveat was it had to be spent by December 31st of last year, and without having to go out to bids, things of that nature, so it kind of limited the scope on that. And obviously, we did not want to lose out on that opportunity to have that money. So we had some great meetings with the fire department, with the police department as well, and just want to give kudos to both sides. It was true teamwork, working together. You know, how can we best spend this money to really benefit the whole of our emergency services departments? And just hats off to both the fire and police for just doing that and really coming up with it all on their own and figuring out on that. And then just really appreciate them and their teamwork on that. So thank you so much. So with that, Matt, our Chief Shoup, it's all you.
Well, excuse me, Matt Shoup, Deputy Chief of Operations, 621 Cleveland. First, Mayor, thank you for the kind words. It's been quite a bit of work between both of our departments to collaborate and come up with a plan of attack to spend the money appropriately. This first one is the replacing a 2001 Ford F-450. That is an older squad that has since, the repairs on it far exceed the value of the vehicle, and it's time to retire it and replace it with this new squad. This is a squad that's used with 2 personnel on it. We use it for brush fires, grass fires, wildland fires in conjunction with lower acuity medical calls and smaller fire type calls. So we're able to more fiscally utilize it for response in other areas so that we're not taking out ladder trucks and fire engines for stuff that we don't need that many personnel on. So it keeps other units available for higher acuity calls. And with that, I stand for questions.
Very good. Any questions?
Mr.
Councilor
Mayor,
Stoddard.
Chief, the word extreme bothers me a little bit. People don't know what extreme means. Can we just call it wildfire squad either? Or can we call it something else besides that?
When we put it into service, Councilor Stoddard, when we put it in service, we call them like Squad 12 or Squad 11. So they're not called extreme on the streets. The term extreme for this is due to the suspension modifications that are built for going off-road, and that's just the manufacturer's description of it is all we use.
Okay, so it'll be changed then, so the public can understand exactly what it is.
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Very good. Any other, Councilor Allgood?
Yeah, Chief. I just want to make sure I'm reading this right. It says the use of capital funds for the equipment to operate this squad would remain as previously requested. So this dollar amount's for the vehicle, but we've already budgeted for equipment to go on the vehicle, or am I interpreting that right?
That's correct. The equipment that's going on the vehicle was approved in October, and we've purchased that equipment. That would be the movable items like the saws, the shovels, the hose, some of the removable equipment. This is for purchase of the vehicle itself.
Gotcha. And so had we budgeted anywhere else for this vehicle previous or no?
Michelle?
We did originally have it in the budget for 2025, but the clause for grant funding and use of grant funds, it is still eligible under purchase for the revenue loss category for ARPA funding.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilor Dittenber.
I just have one question, Chief. If you, when you talk about low acuity, right, I think that means, less severe. How many times does your squad truck go out where they eventually end up calling a full big-size unit out anyway?
I would have to run the numbers specifically for that. The squad, when it's in services, it typically goes out on probably 5 to 10 calls per day. And that could be anything from a smoke detector to smoke smell to minor medical issues. And it's not that it's lessening one person's medical issue over another, it's just ones that traditionally do not require as many personnel. So they're utilized quite a bit, and it does definitely save in terms of the overall cost of the apparatus, and the repair costs, the maintenance costs, and the operational costs are dramatically less than a fire engine. And that is the reason why we utilize them.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. If there's no other questions, is there any further discussion or any motions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Doty.
move to approve the resolution ratifying the purchase of a Ford F-550 BME Type 6 Extreme, soon to be changed, squad unit using ARPA funds.
Very good. We have a motion from Councilor Doty with a second from Councilor Stoddard in regards to the approval of this resolution. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, with that, voting is open at this time. All votes are cast, so voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. That moves us into number 4, resolution ratifying the request to use ARPA funding to purchase services projects from Emergency Services International Consulting for Call of Fire. It's Chief Daniels' turn and Chief Perry. Very good.
Thank you,
And
Mayor,
if you could
Council.
just state your name for the record.
Brian Daniels, Deputy Chief Administration,
you.
621 Cleveland. Chief, oh, not yet, Chief, huh? It's always good to have backup. I believe I'm going to be covering the next few items on the agenda. The first is ESCI, Emergency Services Consulting Incorporated. They are a firm that, a consultant that we're looking to hire to address 4 fields. The first being community risk reduction, giving us an analysis, which Chief Perry can touch on here in a moment. Fire station location analysis, which hasn't been done for the city in quite some time. Standards of cover to update the version from 2012 and 2018, and a strategic plan to basically show us how to get there. So to kick it off, I'll have Chief Perry discuss the community risk reduction portion.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Alan Perry, Deputy Chief of Fire Prevention, 621 Cleveland Boulevard. The program that we're looking to utilize is approximately $4,950 on an annual basis. It'll be replacing a program we currently use called My Sidewalks. It's an additional $150 a year to utilize this particular program. The My Sidewalks program goes into statistical data and analysis regarding community risk reduction with a focus on neighborhoods. And this program, we're pivoting slightly to go to this because it specifically will address station location, call types, call volumes, heat maps. It'll help generate where our needs are so we can better utilize our equipment, better utilize placement of fire stations, and show the growth within the city and where those needs are. And so we're going to pivot a little bit and go to this new program, utilizing the ARPA funds.
Very good. Any questions? Yes, Counselor Allgood.
I just want to make sure I understand this. This is a group that does a one-time project, or this is an ongoing thing?
So there's two parts to this. The first part that I spoke about is the statistical program portion. The second part of this is the standards of cover, and this is a one-time purchase for this company to assist us in developing that strategic plan.
And then there'll be an ongoing, Chief?
Yes.
And then there would be an ongoing fee, annual fee kind of thing?
Correct, which we are already paying for another program, and it'll basically just mirror it and it'll go away. So we're not adding an existing fee annually. We're just going to replace an existing program with this program. Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, in that regards, do we have any motions regarding this resolution? Counselor Doty.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the resolution ratifying the purchase of the project services from Emergency Service International Consulting for the Caldwell Fire Department using ARPA funds.
In a second?
Second.
Motion from Counselor Doty and a second from Counselor Stoddard for approval of the resolution as noted. Any discussion on that motion? With that, voting is then open at this time. And all votes are cast, so voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. And that'll move us into item number 5, consider resolution ratifying the request for ARPA funding in the amount of $56,539 for the purchase of a Chevy Silverado.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Continuing with the mantra from Rochelle earlier, this was a budgeted item for this fiscal year and approved. However, with the timeliness of these ARPA funds coming available, we're requesting to purchase this Silverado pickup truck for the logistics division of the fire department. Currently, the logistics specialist is utilizing a vehicle from the fire prevention fleet, which leaves fire prevention operating a vehicle slated for surplus, which is a 2015 Ford F-150 with 110,000 miles on it. It's become a little unreliable as of late and is slated for surplus. We've talked with the golf course if they wanted to assume it. It's the one with all the crazy logos and smoke alarm stickers all over it. So we would, of course, decertify that for emergency use. So we are requesting to use those funds to purchase this Chevrolet Silverado from Peterson Chevrolet in the amount given on your agenda. And this does not add, once we surplus the other Ford F-150, this does not add any vehicles to the fire department fleet.
Perfect. Thank you so
I'll
much.
stand for questions.
Any questions for Chief Daniels? Okay, thank you so much. In that regards then, is there any motions regarding this resolution?
I'm trying to give everyone else a chance.
He's
but-
trying. There we go.
Mike's
Counselor
on it.
Denver.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we consider the resolution ratifying the request to use ARPA funding in the amount of $56,593 for the purchase of a Chevy Silverado from Peterson Chevrolet for use by the Caldwell Fire Department.
In a second?
Second.
That's a motion from Counselor Denver and a second from Counselor Doty for approval of the resolution. Is there any discussion on that motion? With that, voting is then open at this time. And all votes are cast, voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. That moves us into the next one. This is item number 6 under new business for another resolution in regards to purchasing outfitting a Ford Explorer for the Caldwell Fire Department, $61,386.69. Chief Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again, and council. This purchase was initially planned for fiscal year 26 for the newly hired division chief, who we just hired, extended a job offer to a few weeks ago. He will start on February 3rd. The vehicle will be a new addition to the fleet and is capable of emergency response. The cost of the vehicle and its upfitting, including emergency lights, sirens, and radios from Motorola Solutions and Intermountain Communications and White Cloud Communications is requested to be funded with these ARPA dollars. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Councilor
Mr. Mayor,
Stoddard.
so where will this vehicle be stationed?
It'll be primarily used by the the training division chief, and it will be The training division chief will be out of fire administration, and will also be subject to recall after hours.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Any motions? Whose turn is it? Counselor Allgood.
Down the line here. I thought Christmas was over here.
Just starting for these guys.
I move that we approve the request for the Ford Explorer for Caldwell Fire Department in the amount of $61,386.69.
Do we have a second? It's a motion from Counselor Allgood and a second from Counselor Dentenber for approval of the resolution. Any discussion on that motion? With that, voting is open at this time. And all votes are cast, the voting is closed, and that passes unanimously. That moves us into new business item number 7. This is another resolution to ratify these requests.
Sir, Rex Ingram, Chief of Police, 110 South Fifth Avenue. Basically, we're just in line with the fire department, our esteemed partners here. We are going to use ARPA money to purchase new mats for the mat room that we're building out at the Public Safety Training Center that Deputy Chief Sopoaga can talk more about. But I just want to take a quick moment to really go over how happy and thrilled we are with the ARPA money that came through at the very last minute. And I just want to really give a shout out to the finance team and Raylene and Rochelle for putting all this together at the last minute with the fire command staff as well as Chief Sopoaga. You're going to hear from him about some other equipment in the next couple items. But these are things like the Bearcat that departments dream of getting but can never fund because they're, as you can tell, $400,000. So to use this money is some of the best money ever spent to keep officers safe, to keep the community safe, and really to invest in training and helping our people survive the challenges, the physical challenges and the safety challenges that we face in the 21st century of policing, especially in our community. And lastly, I just want to reiterate one thing. We have the only accredited SWAT school in the entire state of Idaho, and we have the most SWAT deployments in the entire state of Idaho. So these are very mission critical and to the success of not only our team back there, and I want to thank them for showing up tonight and showing support. They believe in this stuff, and I'm so proud to be here and to see what 2025 brings.
Thank you so much, appreciate that. And yes, a huge shout out to, we got a lot of our SWAT members back there. I want to recognize them, thank them for being here and for what they do, so.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, so the first item on our wish list tonight is going to be for the mat room. Specifically, it's 4 mats, so wall mats and floor mats. So I take this picture and put it up there because this is our idea. So the space that hopefully will get approved tonight is about the same exact size as this room here. So the mats for the floor mats and the wall mats are going to be about $10,000. This is kind of what we're proposing for that ratification tonight. Currently, the ARCON team, the arrest and control team, they've been doing a great job in moving us forward, and they came up with this idea. Currently, starting tomorrow, we're going to be holding 2 open ARCON classes a week after hours for any of the officers that want to come down. So it's something that we're moving towards, something that we're using to keep our officers safe, keep their training up, and in the end, it always helps because it decreases, it's a de-escalation tactic, the better trained they are. So this is our proposal. Our funding source that we're proposing it through is obviously ARPA. I'll stand for any questions you have.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Councilor Allgood?
I was just wondering if we could just have the chief go on to item 10 and tell us about that, because they apparently run together. The training room?
Yeah, I think that'd be all right. So do you mind covering that, or you want, was Chief Ingram going to cover it?
Am I understanding that right, that they go together, the mats in the room, put them in?
Yep.
Yeah, if we could hear about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so, actually, here, I think it's a couple, can you put that second PowerPoint up? So I'll give a quick layout. So if you're looking at it like I'm looking at it, it's that top right-hand corner. That's what we have for the mat room. And so if we do get this space approved, obviously that's where the mat room's going to go. With a big help from Chief Shoup and the fire leadership team, they help us kind of put together this layout for the building, and we're just thankful for that opportunity.
Chief Ingram?
Mayor, Counselor, all good. So to answer your question, we are so blessed because we're going to be building a public safety training center over where our shooting range is, over by the ponds. And I just want to really reiterate this. You guys have the very best partnership between police and fire I've ever seen in my entire career with Caldwell Fire and Caldwell Police. And so, once again, thank you to the fire department behind me for really embarking on a journey to basically be a cohort and collaborate and unify our forces together to provide a best place for all of us to train and work together. Because normally, police want to stay separate, fire wants to stay separate, and we don't really ever see this type of teamwork. And so, one of these rooms will be the mat room, but essentially there's several classrooms and there's offices for the trainers to do training. And the deputy chief can talk more about that, but really the fire department is a huge partner in this, and we can't do this without them. So.
Perfect, thank you so much. Do you have a follow-up question, or
Yeah.
do you want to provide some additional detail?
Yeah, Mayor, Council, we'll just go into item 10 real quick, a little bit further. I'll basically start with Chief Shoup here. He'll kind of give you the rundown of what the training grounds look like and then what the facility layout looks like.
Mayor, Council, excuse me, Matt Shoup, Deputy Chief of Operations, Caldwell, 621 Cleveland. So when we look at the training grounds, we're in the middle of working on an MOU with the Street Department and securing the property. It's already been completed. We're just working with Raylin on the financial end of it. It is extending the police training ground out from their current section to the end to the canal, and that is in purple. The red area is where the fire department extension would be, and they're both approximately just shy of 5 acres each. It's like 4.83 on each of them. What will give us is the ability to actually design and develop training grounds that are suitable for both agencies, and allows both agencies to utilize both sides. So a lot of the buildings we would use for fire attack and training purposes, they can utilize for SWAT and police operations as well for searching. So it's kind of a dual purpose facilities. In the green, where it says the PTSB, that's where the public safety training building would be, which is the building we're speaking of on the box building. And in front of that would be the parking area. This is taking out the, as I think it's been called, Garcia Hill, and putting those areas right there. That way, the training facility is outside of the training ground, and we can separate that from any type of contaminants or anything that is utilized between training ground and where classroom space is. So that's where it would be located. In terms of the building, it'll have multiple classrooms. One classroom one will be approximately 30 feet by 40 feet. The classroom above is the mat room, which will be the similar size. We did have to make some wall adjustments to meet fire code for means of egress in there. The two rooms on the very top where it says CPD, those are actually now, that wall's been taken out, and that is where the smaller classroom will be. It's approximately 18 feet by 25 feet, which will work well for like a breakout room or additional classroom spaces needed. It'll give Caldwell Police 2 additional offices, and then the fire department 4 additional offices. And if we need to juggle stuff around a little bit in terms of spacing, we're happy to do that. It gives bathroom facilities down on the site so that we're not using porta potties or other areas that, a little more sanitary. So it's giving our personnel the ability to have places to go, to get out of the different climates, and to have a very secured training area that's dedicated specifically for public safety training. And that gives them breakout rooms and various other access points. So this is how the building will be laid out. We've got in the funds, funding for AV systems, changing the walls around, and then some of the upgrades and stuff to the facility that's from the original purchase. And that's delivered and set up, and then we will, and working through with Raylin, we will utilize impact fees to do the foundation, dirt work, and utility work.
Excellent, thank you so much. Any other?
Yeah,
Councilor
Mr. Mayor.
Scott.
Chief, will any of these modulars be available to any public organizations that might want to train in whatever safety that they're looking at, or is it strictly for the city?
I don't see why we couldn't open it up to outside agencies or departments within the city, just through some sort of a use contract for either any damage or maintenance or cleaning costs. So it'd be definitely something, it's a government facility, it's definitely opened up for them to utilize for any event or need.
Chief, would you agree with that too? Or?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Stodic, I think that, yeah, and I definitely agree with Chief Shoup. I also think that if it's going to be a buzz and there's going to be people that want to use it, especially other police departments, because it's going to be very, very good for the valley. And I think that it would benefit the city to possibly entertain an idea about renting it out if we cross that bridge to make some money.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions this time? Councilor Allgood?
Mr. Mayor, going back to item 7, which was the mats, now that we understand where they're going and all that, I'll make the motion that we approve that purchase.
Very good. Do we have a second? That's a motion from Councilor Allgood and a second from Councilor Doty for approval of the resolution ratifying the purchase for the arrest and control mats in the amount of $10,503.72. Any discussion on that motion? With that, the voting is open at this time. All votes are cast, so voting is closed, and that motion passes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I pushed the wrong button.
Councilor Williams is opposed. So let the record note that all council members voted in favor, so it was unanimous. We just got to get a little more Christmas up there with the green and the red, so that's appropriate, actually. Okay, that moves us into item number 8 under new business. This is, again, a resolution for ratification, the amount of $419,445 for the purchase of a Lenco Bearcat rescue vehicle. I don't see the word extreme in there, so that's probably a good thing, for use by the Caldwell Police Department. Chief Soapwaga or Chief Ingram, which one are you?
Hey, Eddie, can you go like that first one? Mayor, Council, before we start, obviously all the guys in the green are here for this specific item. Before we go any further, I'd like to bring up our team commander, Ben Heinrich. He wasn't ready for this. I should have prepped him, but I'm going to let him freestyle and improvise and let him know why we need this vehicle.
Very good. With an amazing mustache like that, I'm sure he can improvise no problem.
Hello, Lieutenant Ben Heinrich, 110 South 5th Avenue. So I'm our team commander for the SWAT team. I've been in this position a little over a year now. So currently we have 2 armored vehicles at our disposal. And typically when we first got those, they were just for SWAT operations. We've since kind of changed those over, and we've used them on a patrol deployment for anything that's high likelihood of potential violence towards our officers or towards the public. One of those is we have a MAT-V, MRAP. Please don't ask me what those stand for. I don't know what those are. But those were acquired by a former lieutenant through the Department of Defense 1033 program. The MRAP has since gone into, we've had multiple repairs. And if you look at our budget throughout the years, we've always asked for additional tens of thousands of dollars for anticipated repairs for that. It's since gone, the transmission has gone out. We're looking at some significant repairs. So with that, and with those military vehicles, there are some downsides to them. They're not properly equipped for what we do in a civilian realm, and they're also very, very loud, very heavy, and they're just not quite maneuverable for us to get onto scene. So with the Bearcat, these Bearcats are pretty much the standard for any SWAT team throughout the country. They come with different accessories and different things to make it safer for our officers. And they are labeled as a rescue vehicle. They're an armored rescue vehicle. That is backed by the National Tactical Officers Association, NTOA, and that's what they truly are for. They're absolutely to go into a hostile environment or a potential hostile environment and provide our officers with some sort of cover so that we can get closer to the problem and get innocent people out. And that's really what it's for. And then when operationally we like to deploy them, they're a lot more quiet, a lot more maneuverable around city streets. And if you've been inside the MRAP, I know Councilor Allwood, you have, it's quite daunting driving around traffic and near misses of innocent motorists. those just don't happen with the Bearcat. And on top of the repair costs and the constant having to deal with those things, I think that the Bearcat is truly designed for civilian law enforcement in the realm of tactical operations. And with that, this is not just going to be for the SWAT team. Primarily, this is our vehicle. However, again, we've implemented new procedures where this armored vehicle can be used by any of our patrol teams to roll out to any situation that we could use some better armor and get us closer. So I can stand for any other questions you may have.
Very good. Any questions? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
That looks fantastic. Any motions in regards to this request? Oh, yeah, yes, go right ahead.
Just quick, Chief, are we going to get rid of anything, or is this going to be an addition?
Mayor, Councilor Allgood, I left that up to the leadership team for SWAT. My suggestion is, yes, we should probably get rid of one or the other. I don't see a use in having all three. So that's a decision they're going to make here down the road. But yeah, it's definitely in their hands, and I think they're going to probably get rid of one or the other.
Okay, very good. Councilor
Just one more question on, kind of back to what Councilor Allgood, does that cover the upfitting of the vehicle as well, or do you have funds to do that?
So, Mayor, Council President Doty, this exact model that you see right here, minus the window guards, the things guarding the windows, is what we're going to be getting. So there's no upfitting that's going to be needed. It's all included.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or any motions? Councilor Williams.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve the resolution for the funding of the Bearcat for $419,445 through ARPA funds.
Do you have a second? Second. It's a motion from Councilor Williams and a second from Councilor Allgood for approval of the resolution. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, with that, voting is open at this time. We're going to find out here in a second. Okay, all votes are cast, voting is closed, and that passes unanimously. Okay, and that moves us into item number 9 under new business. Again, another resolution ratifying request in the amount of $40,499.10 for the purchase of 2 police drones.
Mayor, councilors, this next one, bear with me, hopefully it works. It's a video, but I think it'd be better for you to watch something that's 3 minutes long explained instead of me talking, so we'll go for it.
Standing by for two-way comms. SWAT Lemur, I've got contact on 2 side. It's gonna be a white male, black t-shirt with a gun. I'm down. SWAT Lemur, I'm up. I'm gonna re-enter.
This is Elaine.
scene with the police. You can see we're not going anywhere. We're here to help.
Keep that thing away from us.
The drone can't hurt you. I'm ready for you to walk out the front door unarmed, but we'll figure it out so nobody gets hurt, all right?
This is the Brink Lemur 2, built to go in first and establish communication, helping everyone get home safely. Welcome to the future of public safety.
Pretty cool, right?
No one seems to know this, but Amazon.
Can you give me that last slide? So, obviously, technology has come a long way, and we are all about keeping our officers safe. And if we don't have to go into that house, we're not going to do so. So, this is our proposal for this ratification: is to purchase 2 police drones. They're Brink Lemur 2 is the model. They run about $40,000 combined, so about $20,000 each. And our funding source for this proposal is ARPA. So I'll stand for any questions.
Great, thank you so much. Questions from council? Councilor Allgood?
I just wanted to say, it's been quite some time ago, I was in a meeting with Chief Sopoaga, and I don't even remember what the meeting was we were in. I was sitting beside him, and we had a SWAT call. And he's sitting in their meeting talking to me, watching the SWAT call on his phone from the drone, wherever it was. I don't even know where it was, but that's just the coolest thing.
Yeah.
The ability to have that, and for the chief and whoever else needs to be paying attention is pretty amazing stuff. So anyway, it's cool stuff, Chief. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
It's like, where was that 30 years ago, right? Yeah. You're out there. Any other questions? Any motions? Councilor Dittenberg.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we consider a resolution ratifying the request to use ARPA funding in the amount of $40,499.10 for the purchase of 2 police drones.
Good, thank you so much. And a second? That's a motion from Councilor Dittenberg and a second from Councilor Williams for approval of this resolution. Any discussion on that motion? With that, voting is open at this time. And all votes are cast, so voting is closed. And that motion passes unanimously. And just to check real quick, I know we received a text from Councilor Register. It sounds like you were having some issues with the audio. Was that just specific to that video? Are you hearing us okay right now? Or maybe not. Councilor Register, are you able to hear us? Okay, I know she was able to vote on that, but maybe try send her another text to check on that audio to see how we are on that. Okay, so that moves us into item number 10 on the new business. Last but not least, and this has already been somewhat covered in regards to the modular, the Joint Police and Fire Public Safety Training Building. So I don't know if there's any additional questions that you have or any additional presentations you have in that regards, or if not, we can move into any discussion or any motions in that regards.
I don't know, am I up?
Councilor Allgood, that's appropriate.
Yeah, this is a huge amount of money. It kind of causes me anxiety, but I move that we approve the dollar amount for the modular joint police fire safety training building in the amount of $787,707.00, and I assume that'll be coming in the near future.
Very good. Thank you so much. We have a motion for approval of this resolution. We have a second.
Second?
It's a motion from Councilor Allgood and a second from Councilor Doty for approval of the resolution for the modular to be used as a joint police and fire public safety training building. Any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Stoddard.
I know Rochelle knows what we're talking about here, but we just want to make sure that we can tell our taxpayers that these things will be budgeted and that they will be included in the future, so we don't have to dip into our reserve funds. And can we guarantee that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, all these ARPA funds, we're always worried about them having a direct effect on our general fund. And we want to make sure that those things are budgeted in the future so we don't have to borrow Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, there are a few things that will require additional funding, as mentioned, like the big training building. And I think that we are hoping to discuss those costs in the upcoming budget to spend in 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so I believe we do have the motion, if I'm not mistaken, for the approval on that. So with that, voting is open at this time. And all votes are cast, so voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously as well. And that'll move us into those items that were removed from the consent calendar down. First one, if I can find, is it item number 24, number 24. So this is for the FCOs for Cirrus Point West final plat. Were you, Robin, going to cover that real quick?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Cirrus Point West is a request for a final plat application. This is for 37 acres at the intersection of Montana and Orchard, 102 single-family lots, 17 common lots. The preliminary plat was approved December of 2023. I believe there was some questions about Cirrus Point, the original development that was approved in 2005. As part of that original subdivision plat, there was a condition to install a traffic signal at Montana and Karcher. That particular development, like I said, was approved in 2005. They built some of it. The development kind of halted for quite a while. The plat expired in its entirety, so they came back, replatted it as Cirrus Point West. When staff reviewed that plat again the second time, we recognized that the original condition was no longer valid. It was no longer valid because ITD now has a corridor plan, and Haley, please correct me if I'm wrong, but ITD has a corridor plan and they will not allow the installation of traffic signals placed at Montana and Karcher. So that's why that condition got removed, is because ITD won't allow it. And so I'll stand for any other questions you might have.
Very good, and I know Councilor Registered had some questions on this, and she is having some issues with the audio coming in and out, so I'm not sure if she can hear us or not. If so, she can definitely chime in on that. But I know there was some emails back and forth with Councilor Registered in regards to those questions. And Councilor Registered, if you can hear us, please let us know. But if not, do you know if those questions were all able to be answered?
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the audio is in and out quite a bit, so it's a little bit hard to hear it all. I did get a copy. So my question when I brought this up was that there was, I had heard that there was supposed to be a light that was put in the original agreement, and then it wasn't. And so staff had sent me a copy of the original development agreement, I guess it is. I have not had a chance to read it yet, and I'm having a really hard time hearing, so I'm wondering if this is something that needs to be approved today, or if it can be put off until I get back there in person.
I guess question for you, Robin, is if it's pressing to do it today, and then for the council, really up to them if they wish to defer this or to vote on it this evening.
Mayor and council members, I actually couldn't speak if it's a pressing matter today or not. Haley, do you have any information on that?
I don't have any direct information on if it's a pressing matter. I do know just from the development side, I'm sure they're very eager to get their plat signed. They would not be able to sell any property. Sometimes developers can't finalize any finance or close out financing until their plat gets finalized. So from our perspective, it's not pressing. That doesn't mean that for the developer, it's not pressing.
Any, Councilor Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
I would kind of respond to that real quick.
Okay.
I understand that from a development concern, but if I can't hear very well and I haven't had a chance to look it over, my bigger concern is making sure that we're not doing something for a developer that was supposed to do something for the taxpayers and didn't do it. So if we're gonna push it tonight, then I have to go with a no until I can look it over, because I just have not had a chance.
Okay, and it sounds like, from what I'm understanding, and obviously there's some additional information, that ITD will not allow it. So no matter what, that stoplight cannot go in, because ITD controls that highway, so there'd have to be that difference. And that's the reason why the change wasn't because the developer requested it or anything of that nature. It was mandated from ITD, is that correct?
Mayor and council members, that's correct.
Very good. Councilor Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just wanted to be sure we all understood that. There's probably no good reason to delay it simply because we could delay this indefinitely. Nothing will change. And while I understand the concern, I just wonder if Councilor Register has heard that through the broken audio. We could delay this, but it won't change anything with regard to that signal. It can't go in because that's an ITD-controlled corridor.
Correct.
Councilor?
I hear that. I'm still asking for a couple of weeks. This will be the 4th time I've been denied an extension on something. If I have to vote tonight, then I'm going to vote on what I know and what I don't know, and I haven't been able to read it yet. I haven't been able to do any research, and I can only hear every other word that you all are saying.
Okay. Councilor Dittenberg?
Mr. Mayor, the facts are very clear that IDT controls that corridor, and so having said that, I make a motion that we approve the findings of facts and conclusions of law for Sears Point and to allow the final plat, SFP 24-29.
Very good. Do we have a second? Okay, so we do have a motion for approval from Councilor Dittenberg and a second from Councilor Allgood. So just to make sure that you were able to hear that, Councilor Register, as I know it's going in and out. So there was a motion for approval of the request and a second. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Were you able to hear that, Councilor Register?
I heard there was a motion.
Very good, yes. So the motion was for approval, just so you're aware on that. Okay, so with that, then we'll go ahead and open it for voting at this time. Oh, it's not? Oh, that's right, yep. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote on this item.
Dittenberg?
Yes.
Allgood?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Doty?
Yes.
Static?
Yes.
Register?
No.
Okay, very good. So that motion does pass with 5 in favor and 1 in opposition. And that'll then move us into number 26, is that correct? Angie, is that right?
26, yes,
Okay,
sir.
very good. So this is, again, was on the consent calendar, moved to the new business. This is resolution authorizing the execution of a 5-year lease agreement between City of Caldwell Airport and the City of Caldwell Economic Development Department in the amount of $9,060.16 annually for 368 square feet of office space. Rochelle, are you doing that, or Scott? Our Director of Aviation.
All right, Scott Swanson, Caldwell Director of Aviation, 4814 Linden. So this was proposed along with the lease agreement for the Caldwell Police Department with the space on the east end of the Hubler Terminal building. Obviously, PD has a little bit more space than Economic Development has. But going with that, I know I owe a couple answers to Mr. Mayor, to yourself, and then Councilor Doty had asked specifically earlier today whether this was required by federal regulation with the FAA. And after a lot of digging through most of the day, there's a Federal Register from 1999 that talks about the final policy on charges for non-aeronautical facilities or services on an airport. And so also talks about providing property for public and community purposes on an airport. So public and community purposes, you can absolutely give to entities and they can provide services on an airport for low or no cost. However, it talks about that in certain circumstances, providing airport land for such purposes will not be considered a violation for self-sustaining requirement. And then generally, circumstances in which below market use of airport land for community purposes will be considered consistent with the grant assurance. That's going to be grant assurance 25, which is airport revenues. So a contribution of the airport property enhances public acceptance of the airport in a community in the immediate area of the airport. The property is put to a general public use desired by local community, and the public use does not adversely affect capacity, security, safety, or operations of the airport. So examples of acceptable use include public parks, recreation facilities, bikes or jogging paths. Examples of uses that would not be eligible are road maintenance equipment storage and police, fire departments, and other government facilities if they do not directly support the operation of the airport. So coming off of that, going further into grant assurance 25, so it talks about, again, 64 Federal Register 7696, that an example of unlawful revenue diversion would be charging less than fair market value rental rates to non-aeronautical users, including the sponsor itself. And then with that, so my intent on charging economic development and the police department rental rates on the airport was to increase airport revenues without burdening the desire to increase our revenues on the general user of the airport. And so the FAA also notes that it promotes the practice of using non-aviation revenues to subsidize aeronautical activities, since it reduces the economic impact on aviation users and the aviation public. So the only other question on this lease is essentially the rates. So that the rate of $24.62 a square foot for a hubbler building space has kind of just been on the fee sheet since I took this position 18 months ago. So whether or not that's a fair market rate or not, I'm not in the position to fully say. However, I do know that the average rental space in the Caldwell area is about $16 to $22 a square foot for a triple net lease, which is not including utilities, janitorial service, and building maintenance, to whereas this would be $24.62 a square foot gross lease, which is including janitorial services, electricity, gas, heat, water, bathrooms. So it's including everything. Because the fees of the building use itself is still coming out of the airport budget. I am just looking to capitalize on revenues available to cover the additional costs for more people being in the building. And that's going to be for economic development lease and the Caldwell Police Department lease.
Very good. Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things here, Scott, and thank you for always being as prepared as you can be. Help me understand, we can or we cannot, for the city, use this without charging?
So I would say it's kind of a rocky slope on this with how the FAA would look at it. I would say if you're not going to charge for the space, nobody gets charged for the space, period. But charging for the space is going to allocate a stepping stone for myself and also Rob Oates managing the airport with the FAA if there's ever a complaint at any point against our violation of a grant assurance being 24. And obviously the biggest recourse we have, if we are found at fault for violating a grant assurance, they just pretty much put on hold any government funding for projects on the airport until we correct a deficiency. And usually how that works is through a non-formal complaint process. Initially start with the FAA, we'll call the city, and either hash out on a telephone or in a meeting and say it's fixed or it's not fixed, and then go from there. As far as, I think the wiggle room on this would be the rate is what we can look at, and whether or not that $24.62 is a fair market value, because I can't really say for sure. I'm not a real estate agent or an appraiser or an assessor or any of that. So if we want to carry this forward to the next meeting and give staff some time to find what a fair market value is and go from there, and then kind of figure out what we want to do. But I think it's a great opportunity to help subsidize the users on the airport without touching the lease rates.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. My concern, I have several concerns, however.
Yeah.
What we're essentially doing, though, is putting this on the backs of the taxpayers in the rest of the city. And this is, I can understand, and I think finance would probably agree because of our new model, that there should be some shared cost in janitorial services and utilities and so on, because we're in that building, and it makes sense for us to address those in the budgets of those departments that are using the space. However, we're talking about an amount here that I know from the rigorous time we spent in budgets and how difficult it was to get to where we are. I can't speak for economic development, but I know their funding is always challenging. The police department is at bare minimums, and now we're going to charge ourselves, essentially the taxpayer, to use a city building that we already own, that they already paid for, to use it again. And so I have a real problem with this, and I don't think it makes sense. I also would challenge the argument that has been made that this space is in such high demand. Just recently, during a presentation, I think it was questioned why this building was even built on that side of the airport. That ship sailed. I don't want to bring that up because you can't answer that question. But the point is, the users of the airport aren't using this building because it's not where they are. Just to get there, and I've done it myself one time, you land, and then you have to taxi, you have to radio that you're crossing an active runway just to get there. And then radio to cross that active runway to get back just over to the other side. It's not being used. This space hasn't been in high demand. And for us to charge ourselves and put it on the backs of economic development and the police department, I don't see this as responsible government. If you want to work up a figure for us as a city that makes more sense to a shared use of the space, I would highly recommend we go back and look at this more closely rather than turning this into something that is only going to be a burden, not just for economic development, for our police department, for our taxpayers. You know, all of this, remember, this is the fire department's fault. Well, we're tearing down the annex building, and we need to create some more space. And obviously, we wish we had more room in this building, and maybe the day will come that we will, and we can move economic development into this building or other offices. But for now, I'm not happy with either of these proposals, and that's why I asked for both of them to be removed from the consent calendar.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Doty?
Mr. Mayor, I also agree with Councilor Williams, and on top of that, I think as probably council and some of our community is well aware, I don't think it's up to us to save the users of the airport money. I think if you use the airport, you spend the money. So I think the argument would need to be different, such as the access to the police on that side of town and things of that nature, and I've spoken to you about that. So I agree with Councilor Williams, maybe some more time to check with FAA and figure out what all the fuzzy codes mean and get a fair assessment, because I too agree that we're just playing a shell game here, and on top of that, the users of the airport should pay for the airport. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Stoddard?
Mr. Mayor, Scott, again, nothing on your term as far as where this was located, but I was the one that brought up the location of it, because in my first term, I even challenged it, and nobody ever gave me a good reason why it was located there, because all the activity was on the south side of the airport, not the north side. So, and here we go again. We're stuck with something that, a bad decision in the past will cost us money if we don't do it right. Thank you.
Councilor Denver?
Mr. Mayor, in the interest of brevity, I make a motion that we table both of these items.
Very good. So, and that would be a continuation to the next city council meeting, is that correct? January 21st? Oh, and that's,
Until I bring it back.
So that's an option as well. So, okay, so the motion is for table, this is for indefinite, so that would just means that it would basically be, this is pretty simple, it would just be added to a future agenda at that time when it's ready to come back. So that's a motion from Councilor Denver and a second from Councilor Doty. Any discussion on that motion? And with that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And any opposed? That motion passes. So that is for items 26 and 27. So that then does conclude those items and move us into item number 11, finance report. Counselor Allgood, I'm guessing.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that accounts payable in the amount of $6,178,577.18, represented by check numbers 906 through 183205, and payroll for the amount of $743,299.04, represented by check numbers 39781 through 39792, and direct deposits be accepted, payments approved, and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
Very good. Do we have a second? Motion from Counselor Allgood and a second from Counselor Williams for acceptance of the finance report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And that motion passes. That'll move us into council comments. Counselor Doty.
I think I'm good for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect.
I appreciate this quick agenda tonight, and it seemed to went well, so.
It's a good way to start off the year. So Counselor Stodic.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Counselor Register? Okay. Counselor Williams? And Counselor Allgood?
I'll break the streak just quickly. It was brought to my attention that the Wittenberger Foundation published their list of donations for the year. That is just an amazing foundation. Destination Caldwell was a beneficiary, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. They do some amazing things all over the valley, and especially in our city, which I completely appreciate. I was a recipient back when I was with the police department, and anyway, I just wanted to say kudos to the Wittenberger Foundation and all they do for everybody in the valley here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Counselor Denber, pass on that. Okay, so I just have just two quick items. First is, and I appreciate Counselor Stodic did reach out today asking for an update on the city attorney search. Thankful that Michelle is here as well, our wonderful new HR director. So interviews are scheduled with 4 candidates for next Thursday, January 16th. That interview panel, I know it includes Counselor Doty. I can't remember if there was another city councilor, Counselor Allgood, with their experience. Thought that'd be great, and then also Counselor Chief Ingram, and also Chief Raleigh, I believe, have both been invited to be on that. And then also Debbie Geyer and then Michelle will be part of that. So that'll be that committee to interview those candidates, and then present their top ones to myself to review, and then meet with that individual or individuals, 1 or 2, whatever they do move forward, and then to bring that back. So the intent would be to have that back before council the first meeting in February. It'd be a little tight to get it onto the 21st after the 16th interview, so we would have that back to council for your review and hopeful final decision on that first meeting in February. And obviously it would depend on their starting date in regards to their schedule, working on that, and then that transition that will occur with Mr. Hilty's office. I'm sure there'll be a bit of overlap there, a lot of questions from the new city attorney in regards to things that are ongoing and things of that nature. And those would be things we'll need to cover as far as, do we need to do some type of a retainer with Mr. Hilty's firm for an amount of time, just so we have that dual lap of coverage in that regard. So we're just continuing, I guess we do have that in place now, so just continuing with that until the new city attorney is up and running. But that's where it's at. The intent was for that new attorney to be able to hire their own staff, so we're not hiring everybody at once. Wanted to let that individual have the opportunity to review, a staff attorney, other potential paralegals, things like that really need to make sure they work well together. So let that city attorney make those decisions. So. Yeah, definitely, for sure. I'm glad that you reached out with that question. And the last one is just the city council liaison assignments. It is a new year, as we talked about, it being January. And as you're aware, we do make those changes each year on that. So I do have that sheet that I'll pass out for that. So working with the city clerk, came up with this probably a few weeks ago, and just really appreciate everybody's service. I know that usually we change things up every year, so you get to sit on a different committee and get to know it. Appreciate Councilor Williams did sit on the Airport Advisory Board for an extra year this past year to help them get established, and they're doing a great job with Director Swanson out there, and Councilor Register did voice some interest in that last year, not being able to be on that, to be on this year, so we were able to make that change. Appreciate Councilor Williams' willingness to do that. So I do have that. I'll pass that out to each council member so you're aware of those changes in that regard. And again, appreciate your service on those, and just in general. I know it's a thankless job at times, and I know that your heart is in the right place, whether the public agrees with it or not. And so do appreciate that in that regard. So that would be all the comments that I would have, and that is the end of our agenda. So at this time, we do stand adjourned. Oh,